Her father died overnight, and the hospital claimed he'd refused life-saving surgery at 2:17 a.m. Claire read the report and froze. The refusal was digitally signed while he was sedated and unconscious. That timestamp wasn't a detail. It was proof someone had signed for him. The monitor still beeped behind the glass, steady and wrong. Somewhere, a bed will squeak down the hall, sharp, out of place. The nurse said it like she'd said it 100 times before. Calm, efficient, like death was a clerical update. Claire didn't move. The air smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee, the kind that sits too long on a hot plate. Behind the glass doors, monitors beeped, flat rhythms that didn't belong to him anymore. She sat down without meaning to. Her jacket slipped off her shoulders. The clock above the desk read 7:02. She kept staring at it, like it might shift backward and undo everything. A young resident approached, papers in hand. He signed a refusal at 2:17 a.m., he said, eyes already drifting toward another form. He was aware of the risks. She blinked. He wasn't awake then. He paused for half a second, just enough to confirm she was right, then walked off. The hallway hummed again. A printer spat out another form, sharp and final, the sound of something closing. That night, she couldn't sleep. The house smelled like her father's aftershave, the kind he used even after he retired, cheap and clean. On the kitchen table, she laid out the papers they'd handed her: discharge summary, surgical notes, a refusal form with a neat digital signature. John Merritt, 2:17 a.m. The timestamp glowed like static in her brain. She turned the page over. Blank. Nothing that said he'd ever been conscious. Nothing that said anyone had asked. Her phone buzzed. A voicemail from the attending physician, Dr. Pierce. His voice was smooth, practiced. I understand how difficult this is. Your father was coherent when he declined. Please reach out to medical records if you need verification. Verification. The word scraped. Claire replayed the message, slower each time, like meaning might fall out if she listened differently. It didn't. At 3 a.m, she opened her laptop and started searching. How to request complete medical records, HIPAA patient access timeline, audit log definition. The blue light painted her face cold. Her cursor hovered over a download link she didn't understand yet. Something called authorization event file. When she clicked it, a pop-up warned, this document may contain metadata. She clicked anyway, and when the file opened, the same time stared back, 2:17 a.m. It didn't feel like coincidence. It felt like a signature someone shouldn't have left behind. The printer clicked again, a slow, mechanical sound that filled her kitchen at night. Claire watched another sheet slide out, her father's name in bold at the top. The paper trembled in her hand when she pulled it free. She didn't notice until the edge tore slightly. Too fast, too tight. She built neat stacks, lab reports, nursing notes, medication charts. Everything looked official, which somehow made it worse. Official meant finished. Sealed. Done. But none of it fit. Not the timing, not the phrasing. Refused bypass procedure at 2:17 a.m. Kept repeating through the pages like a refrain. Her phone lit up, Dr. Alan Pierce. For a second, she thought of letting it ring out. Then she answered. Claire, I just wanted to check in, he said. His tone was flat, but careful. Sometimes families misremember things. The hours blur. Her voice was calm, too calm. You were his surgeon. I was. He was lucid. We discussed the risk. He was sedated by one. A pause. Breathing. Then, softer. I'm sorry for your loss. The call ended. No click, just silence. She exhaled slowly. Something inside her shifted, not anger yet, but alignment. Like gears clicking into place. She opened her email and started a HIPAA request template, line by line, using language she'd written for clients at the firm. All medical and electronic records, including audit trails and access logs. The form looked clinical, detached, but every sentence was a pulse. When she hit send, the sound of the whoosh from her outbox felt louder than it should have. For a moment, it felt over. Like maybe the file would sit in someone's inbox forever, buried under other names, other stories. For a day, she almost believed it would fade, that no one would care enough to look deeper. Days turned to weeks. Bills arrived. Sympathy cards faded on the counter. The hospital's envelope came last. She opened it carefully, half hoping it'd prove her wrong. Inside, a printed packet, missing sections. But at the very end, a digital report stapled backward, Access history. The first line read, User A. Pierce. Authorization recorded at 2:17 a.m. Her fingers pressed the corner of the paper until it creased. Outside, a delivery truck hissed to a stop. Ordinary sound. Still, it made her flinch. The world kept moving like nothing had happened. She turned on the lamp, the same one her father fixed years ago, and laid the report under the light. That printout felt heavier than paper, she whispered. Not grief this time. Evidence. The hallway smelled like bleach and static. Claire stood at the reception desk, folder clutched to her chest, watching a nurse pretend not to notice her. The woman typed fast, eyes glued to the monitor, nails clacking against the keys like rain on glass. I just need 5 minutes with Dr. Pierce, Claire said. The nurse smiled, the kind of smile built for deflection. He's in surgery. He's always in surgery, Claire replied. Her tone didn't rise, but the words carried weight. The nurse hesitated, then slid a clipboard closer, some form to fill, meaningless. Claire left it blank. She turned toward the corridor. Through a small window in the door, she saw him, Pierce, walking beside 2 residents, laughing about something. His mask hung loose around his neck. He looked younger than she remembered, almost casual. For a second, their eyes met. He stopped talking, then shifted his gaze away as if she were just another visitor lost in the wrong wing. That was the moment it changed, quiet, exact, irreversible. The sound of his laughter still hung in the corridor, faint, like static she couldn't shut off. She walked outside. The air was too bright after hours under fluorescent light. Her car felt smaller than before, full of paper and breath. She sat there until her hands stopped shaking, then reached for her phone. The name she'd written weeks ago in her notes. Liam Turner, investigative journalist. She'd read his articles, the ones about malpractice and missing records. His contact was public. She didn't plan to use it. Until now. When he answered, his voice was rough, tired. Yeah, this is Liam. I think a surgeon forged a patient's signature, she said. My father's. A pause. Then, you have proof? Metadata. Audit logs. Everything. He didn't laugh, didn't doubt. Just exhaled, slow, like someone already picturing headlines. Send me what you have. She plugged in the flash drive. The laptop fan started to hum. Files opened, one by one. Each timestamp a small, mechanical heartbeat. She wrote a brief email, attached everything, and hovered over send. For the first time, she didn't feel fear, only control, thin, steady, dangerous in its calm. She didn't raise her voice. She just pressed send. Outside, a siren passed. The sound lingered long after the lights were gone. The article went live on a Wednesday morning. No photos, just text, simple, factual, unflinching. Hospital surgeon linked to falsified patient refusals. Claire read the headline twice, then once more, slower. The words didn't feel real. Her phone buzzed before she could refresh the page. Unknown number. Then another. Then another. She didn't answer. Outside, traffic hummed steady, like nothing had shifted, but everything had. Within an hour, the hospital issued a statement. We are aware of allegations regarding procedural inconsistencies. It was the language of panic wearing professionalism, every syllable scrubbed of blame. Claire sat at her kitchen table again, the same one where the first document had printed. A sunlight stripe crossed the stack of papers beside her, faint, almost kind. The radio on the counter murmured about internal review and public concern. Her father's name didn't come up. It wouldn't. Her email pinged. Liam, we've got 2 nurses talking off record. Same patterns. One scared, but she sent proof. Claire leaned back. The chair creaked. She closed her eyes, just for a moment. Not from exhaustion, but disbelief that quiet persistence could echo this loud. By evening, the hospital lobby was full of reporters. The footage played online. Pierce leaving through a side exit. Face hidden, tie loosened. Someone shouted his name. He didn't stop. Her phone rang again. This time, a different tone, the PR director. Miss Merritt, we understand you've been speaking to the media. We encourage patience while we cooperate with the board. Patience. The word landed like a threat wrapped in courtesy. She looked out the window. The hospital stood across the street, glass shining under the orange sunset. For the first time, she didn't feel small walking past those doors. Later that night, Liam texted a single sentence. They suspended his privileges. She read it 3 times. then let the phone drop onto the table. The house was quiet, not peaceful, just still, like the world was holding its breath. Claire turned off the light, leaving the documents under the soft glow of her laptop screen. Justice had started to move, slow, procedural, unstoppable. The cemetery was quiet, just wind and the faint click of her lighter. Claire didn't smoke, never had, but she flicked it once, out of habit or maybe nerves. The flame trembled, then died. She crouched beside the headstone, smoothing the edge of the grass the way her father used to fix uneven lines on his driveway. The printout was folded in her hand, creased, faded, but still legible. Authorization event, 2:17 a.m. User, A. Pierce. She'd stared at those lines enough to know every space between the letters. From the radio in her parked car down the path, a reporter's voice drifted through the open window. Dr. Alan Pierce's license has been suspended pending investigation. The hospital declined to comment. Each word sounded detached, procedural, bureaucratically calm. Justice without emotion. Exactly the kind she'd built her life around, until it became personal. She laid the paper flat on the stone for a second, the wind catching the corner, and whispered, "They believed me." Then she folded it once more, tucked it into her jacket pocket, and stood up. Her reflection flickered in the polished granite. Pale, steady, older. Driving back, the city looked ordinary again. School buses, early commuters, a bakery sign lighting up. Life didn't look any different. It just felt like it had been corrected slightly, like a misaligned frame finally straightened. She parked across from the hospital. The same glass facade reflected the sky, sterile, bright, untouched. She didn't go inside, just watched. Ambulances came and went. Nurses carried clipboards. Somewhere inside, someone else's father was being prepped for surgery. Her hand rested on the steering wheel, thumb brushing the indentation where her father's ring once fit when he taught her to drive. She'd kept it in the glove box, not for sentiment, but proof that something good could come from procedure, not rage. The radio switched to weather, then silence between channels. For a moment, all she could hear was her own breathing. Justice didn't look like peace, but it sounded a little like silence. She turned off the engine and sat still. In the windshield, the hospital's reflection trembled faintly, sterile glass, morning light, her own breath fogging the edge. A quiet echo of everything that had already happened,